In the bonus movie content from the movie edition of The Girl Who Was on Fire, Ned Vizzini tells this story of seeing the Hunger Games on the day of the premiere. The audience was split into two camps. The people who had read the books, mostly teenage girls, watched as readers. They eagerly anticipated any plot point from the Hunger Games, and when that point was dutifully delivered, they clutched one another with glee. The people who hadn't read the books, mostly teenage boys, had a different agenda. They wanted to see people get killed, and to prove they were cool. When Jennifer Lawrence cried on screen, they made grotesque crying faces at one another. When Liam Hemsworth saw her kiss Josh Hutcherson, they called out, "Team Jacob!" The only time the teen boys behind me shut up was when kids were getting killed. They were supposed to empathize with the districts, but they were more like their grotesques in the Capitol, thirsty for blood. Our essayists actually spent a lot of time looking at the differences between the book and film and their movie edition updates. Things that were missing, things that were added. But by far, the difference I'm most interested in isn't about the story itself. It's about how the story is presented and what the change in medium means for who we, as the audience, identify with. When you translate between mediums, like between book and film, changes are inevitable. Also, those changes aren't always for the better. For me, for the Hunger Games, the biggest change from book to film, and among our authors the most polarizing change, was point of view. The book The Hunger Games is written in first-person point of view. As readers, we are put in Katniss's well-worn hunting boots. We see the world through her eyes, from inside her head. We see what she sees, and we feel what she feels. In a sense, we are Katniss. Katniss is the person we empathize with first and foremost because she is the one we know, the only one we really can know. The Hunger Games presents a world where no one and nothing can be trusted, from your fellow district tribute to the reality of the arena, designed by the game makers and changeable at their will. We have direct access to Katniss's thoughts and feelings, while we can only guess along with her at everyone else's. The film, perhaps unavoidably, is different. We see Katniss the same way we see everyone else, from the outside. There's one major exception to this, Katniss's hallucinations after being stung by trackerjackers, during which we see not only through her eyes explicitly, but into her thoughts, viewing her memories of her mother's breakdown along with her, which, in a way, only drives home the distance we experience during the rest of the film. In other words, we see Katniss much more like the residents of the Capitol do, on a screen, making up our own story for what's inside her head instead of hearing hers. This shift in point of view from Katniss to Capitol isn't just a matter of camera angles. Consider the difference in the book and film's respective first scenes. In the book, we start the story with Katniss in District 12. In the film, we start the story with a scrolling explanation of the games, and the first people we see are Caesar Flickerman and Seneca Crane on a soundstage, taping an interview for television broadcast to the people of the Capitol, which implicitly puts us, the moviegoers, in the position of the Capitol viewers. The Capitol residents even look like us a little. Not us right now, but us in the very recent past, as one of our essayists, Adrian Kress, points out. The movie derives a large share of its inspiration from the 1980s. The neon colors of the costumes, the shoulder pads, the bright eyeshadows and lipsticks, the obsessive interest in suits. It's a kind of sartorial decadence that would make American Psycho's Patrick Bateman proud. The film also gives us more of a look at the lives of the Capitol's residents, something the book couldn't do, constrained as it was to Katniss's point of view. We see the outside of the games for the first time. This includes the snippets of color commentary like Caesar's explanation of the trackerjackers, which, in the guise of addressing the Capitol viewers, explained the danger to moviegoers who hadn't read the books. But it also includes scenes like the two Capitol children playing Hunger Games as their doting parents look on. What's so eerie about this last scene is that it feels so familiar, like kids playing cowboys and Indians, or soldiers and terrorists. The same goes for the Hunger Games viewing parties we're shown. Heck, had Gale been introduced to Capitol audience the way he's introduced to us, as a competitor for Katniss's affections, we might even have been treated to a Capitol shipping war. In other words, the Capitol residents interact with their media the same way that we do. And this is much more overt in the film than it is in the book. Actually, let's take a minute and look at the Hunger Games film as a media event. A movie is a spectacle, an event, in ways that a book, especially the first book in a series, can't be, despite our marketing department's best efforts. And this was certainly true for the Hunger Games. The weeks leading up to the premiere were full of talk show appearances and interviews to drum up excitement. I particularly enjoyed the irony of Liam Hemsworth being interviewed about the Hunger Games by our own Caesar Flickerman alike, Ryan Seacrest. The actors went on a multi-city mall tour, not unlike the Victory Tour we see Katniss and Peeta sent on at the film's end. And just put the actors and actresses on chariots, and the red carpet at the film premiere starts to look pretty similar to the pre-games presentation of the tributes in the Capitol. All of these marketing examples highlight the parallels between our world and the Capitol. But there are two elements of marketing around the film that were even more striking, at least in terms of determining how we, as moviegoers, see ourselves. First, the movie trailers.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Their marketing department made the decision not to show the games themselves in any of the trailers. Whatever the marketing team's intent, one effect the choice had was to focus attention more directly on the games. I'd argue that the Hunger Games isn't about the games themselves. It isn't about the competition and the violence. The Hunger Games is about living in the society the games are a part of, about being their victim, whether you survive them or not, and whether you're reaped or not. In narrowing the focus, the hype, down to the games, the trailers take our focus off the cultural critique the book offers and put it instead on the spectacle. Our experience is the experience of the Capitol, the experience of those boys in Ned Vizzini's movie theater. We're waiting for the show. The second element is the Capitol.pn. The interactive website, thecapitol.pn, very consciously, and pretty brilliantly, I think, takes up the idea of the film audience as the games audience, and invites us into the fiction by addressing us directly as if we were the citizens of Panem. You can apply for an ID card, I'm from District 9, take a tour of the Capitol, and read Capitol Couture, a fashion and lifestyle magazine aimed at Capitol readers. The ID card and tour both suggest that we are visitors to the Capitol rather than natives. But even when the site uses districts to refer to us, their audience, as this example does, the target audience is pretty clearly Capitol residents, the ones with money to spend. This particular post is something else that's interesting. It doesn't just create a fictional construct and invite us to pretend along with the marketing team. It also pulls in elements of the real world. Like the Hunger Games hitting #1 at the box office. Not only are they equating the film with the games, they're blurring the lines between what's real and what isn't. You can see the same principle at work in the Capitol advertisements they released a few months before the film premiere. All of these are for fictional products, which is kind of a shame because I'm a little bit in love with that gold eyeliner. But mixed in among those fake ads was a real ad for a real product that we too could buy. And the face of Capitol colors? Effie Trinket. Not Elizabeth Banks, but Banks as Effie. This kind of marketing blurs the lines between reality and fiction, and between us and them, in a way that's explicit, powerful, and effective. One of our other essayists, Leah Wilson, sums up the idea here beautifully. The glitzy marketing campaign for the Hunger Games is supposed to make us feel uncomfortable. Those unfamiliar with the book will get sucked in by the glamour and hype, only to realize that what they are watching is a bloodbath. The book lets us take refuge in Katniss's first-person viewpoint. The film doesn't allow us that comfort. Watching the Hunger Games on a screen feels voyeuristic, and we are confronted with the ultimate question. In this story, are we Katniss, are we the Capitol, or are we both? This question, are we Katniss or are we the Capitol, is a hard one to answer no matter which medium you're looking at, film or books. Even in the books, we see ourselves in the Capitol residents and play their role. As readers, we are captivated by Katniss and want to know her story the same way they do. And even in the film, no matter how often we are cast as the Capitol, it is still Katniss we follow, Katniss we root for. And unlike in the actual Hunger Games, the people we are watching are actors, they're of their own free will, and no one gets hurt. What I think is important instead in both book and film is the tension between those 2 points of identification, between seeing ourselves as Katniss, the victim, and seeing ourselves as the Capitol, the victimizers. What's valuable about looking at the book and film together is how it highlights that tension, because that tension is what leads to change. By the numbers, most of us live lives that are more like the residents of the capitals than the residents of the districts. We are the haves, not the have-nots. The ones whose lives are easy because so many others' lives are not. But it's the ability to see ourselves in both Katniss and the people of the Capitol, to see Katniss's struggle and to see our complicity in what she struggles against, that can lead us to recognize not just our privilege but our power, and give us the awareness we need to use it to do something worthwhile.